KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your Smart Mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey. It is December 27th, coming at you the weekend of Christmas here. A little late, but better than late than never. This is episode 31. This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. We are going to talk TLC, recap that. But first, let's check in with the boy Eric. Eric, what is going on with you?
Oh, what's happening, Brian? You know, same old, same old. Had a nice Christmas. Me and the kids hung out, made a Mexican feast, chowed down, got a food coma, fell asleep to National Lampoon's. Christmas well spent. How about you?
That's it, spending time with Christmas. We were talking about trying to get a show in on Christmas Eve, but that wasn't happening.
No.
That's all right, though. So we're here on the weekend of Christmas. This is the 27th. We're going to put this out on YouTube. It's going to be out on all podcast platforms, so check them out. Make sure you guys head on over to all our social media platforms. KayFabe Smark on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and head on over to anchor.fm. You can send / the KayFabe Smark. You can send us a voicemail. Check that out, and make sure you head on over to head on over to audibletrial.com / the KayFabe Smark. Get a free 30-day trial at Audible and a free audio book. So make sure you check all that fun stuff out.
Well, Brian, it was a exciting week in wrestling, but we got to start this week off with a little bit of a bummer of a news story.
Yes, sir.
John Huber, a.k.a. Brody Lee in AEW, a.k.a. Luke Harper in WWE, died on December 26th, yesterday, at the age of 41 due to a non-COVID-related lung illness, according to his wife.
It is being reported. It's being reported as non-COVID right now.
Yeah, his wife is saying non-COVID. He's been dealing with this lung issue for a while, pretty much since he left TV.
Wow. I didn't know anything about it. They kept it pretty well, hidden from the internet dirt sheets, if you will, and the internet reporters. I assumed something was a little off, but I didn't know what.
Yeah, I did a little digging today, and that's when I found out that he's been dealing with it for a while. But he did kind of go out on a high note. His last match was the dog collar match with Cody Rhodes on October 7th. Well, I didn't realize it was that long since he was on TV.
Yeah, I knew it had been a while.
That match received 4.5 stars from Dave Meltzer, and that ties his highest rated match ever. So he did go out on a high note. A couple days before his death at the AEW Holiday Bash, Brody got to see his 8-year-old son, Brody Lee Jr., unofficially win the AEW championship from Kenny Omega by putting him in a rear naked choke and making him tap. There's plenty of jokes there, but this isn't a joking matter right now. But there's been a ton of tributes online, Twitter and Instagram, AEW stars, WWE stars, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, Cody, Brandy Rhodes, Kevin Owens. But by far, the best tribute online is from Bray Wyatt's official Instagram page. It's really long and it's heartfelt, and me reading it on air ain't going to do it justice, but definitely go over to Instagram and get on Bray Wyatt's Instagram. That is the Wyndham Rotunda, and read it for yourself. It's definitely worth a read. A little bit of a tearjerker there. Apparently Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper, John Huber, were really close friends. So, yeah. Bummer of a story.
Bummer of a story. Just really getting the wheels back under him in his new career, post WWE life. So he had a lot of potential and things we were going to see done, and unfortunately, we got to see them all.
Yeah, 41 years. That's kind of that hits close to home for you and I. I myself am 38, you're 37, so It's like, eesh.
Yeah, it's way too young, man. Feels old when you're little, right? They're like, they're in their 40s.
Bro, I remember being a kid and my parents being my age now, and I'm like, yeah, man, they got life all figured out.
When
Everything just falls into place. You're an adult, you know everything. I'm 38, I don't know shit.
when do I get to figure it out? I want to know when to figure it out. Well, with that sadness being said and all that getting past us, I think the main chunk of what we're getting into is TLC. Do you have any other news or anything else that's happened? I mean, I think other than that, it's been kind of quiet on the holiday front of anything.
Yeah, Dave Meltzer's mom died. So shout out to Dave Meltzer. Condolences to him. That's another bummer of a story, but
nobody wants that.
So yeah, just mainly the main news was Brody Lee passing on, but we're a little late on TLC, but it's definitely a show we need to review. So that's our meat and potatoes this week.
That's that. So I guess we'll just dig and get right into that. Big question up first there, Eric Todd. Did you watch the pre-show?
I did not.
Hey, who'd have thought?
Did you? Who would have thunk it?
I didn't either. I'll be honest with you. Last Sunday, I planned to start it a little late, and I was doing something else, and then I realized I started it way late. So I caught up, through some nonsense, but nonetheless, I didn't do that. We had Big E, Daniel Bryan, Chad Gable, and Otis taking on King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Cesaro, and Shinsuke Nakamura in an 8-man tag. Big E's team won. So,
was there anything at stake? Anything on the line?
They needed these 8 guys to get their TV time because it's in their contract.
That about sums it up.
No. Other than, we're not spoiling anything here at this point as we're recording this on a Sunday, and Friday was the SmackDown day. It was kind of using this as the Big E push. Big E then wins the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown on Friday. So that was his big shining moment as a single star, kind of stepping away from New Day, it seems. But we will see where that goes from there. Other than that, I don't think anything big was on the line.
No, Big E did also make an appearance backstage during TLC, and I remember this because my son walked into the room and said, "Wow, he has huge boobs." He said he needs to move up a size in his shirt because it just looks like he has women's breasts. My son's 17-year-old, not into wrestling, and an astute observer of the sport.
And
what else can you say, Brian? You just got to leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. I got nothing to go on here. All right. First match on the card, the official card, kicking off the pay-per-view. You have Drew McIntyre taking on AJ Styles for the WWE Championship.
AJ Styles being accompanied to the ring by Black Diesel, and but they choose to call him Omos.
Almost. He's almost Diesel.
He's almost Diesel. But I did a little research on our boy Omos here. He is Jordan Omagbihane.
Easy for you to say.
7'3", former basketball player from Morgan State University, 26 years old, and he was also the giant ninja accomplice for Akira Tozawa back in that whole ninja gimmick thing that was going on.
I was pretty positive he was the ninja gimmick guy, the big giant ninja. Then they just said, well, we're done with that story. We'll never explain who that was, and we'll move on and do something different.
We'll just make him AJ Styles' bodyguard now.
There you go. So where you at on this match? What did you think? I have some thoughts, but we'll start you out with where you're at.
I thought this match had the potential to be really bad and ended up being really good.
It's one way to look at it.
It's TLC, so there's tables, ladders, and chairs everywhere, and it just has gimmick written all over it. But it just seemed AJ and Drew McIntyre really kept the focus on the action and the fighting and used the gimmicks as accessories rather than making the gimmicks the entirety of the match or the entire meaning behind the match.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they did good this whole match with the cheesiness of the running up the ladder and not being able to go up a ladder, like you forget how to do it rung by rung. You know that ladder match? Everybody's seen that ladder match where it's like they're going up and they're like, they're so winded. I mean, these are elite athletes, right? They're in peak physical condition, and then they get like 2 steps up the ladder, even being blown up from a wrestling match, and they're like, oof, I just can't do it. Or they stop 3 rungs short and reach for the title or reach for the Money in the Bank, and you're going, well, you know you can't reach it from there. That's why you're on a ladder, you silly goose. They did very minimal of that, which I thought was good. I hate that stuff, so when they don't throw that in my face, I'm happy about that.
Well, what they cut down on for cheesy ladder spots, they definitely upped the ante on cheesy camera cuts. Every time somebody got punched, every time somebody got kicked, every time somebody hit a turnbuckle, the camera, zoom, new camera, new camera, new camera. It was just like a shitty 80s action movie with all the camera cuts. And these guys are pros. These guys are both been in the business for well over 10 years, maybe going on 20 years. They know how to throw a working punch. So it's not like the camera is covering up bad punching. I think just WWE's a little willy-nilly with those cameras.
I agree. I think that they're going to shoot themselves in the proverbial foot by doing this, because what's going to happen is you're going to create a crutch for production.
Right.
You're going to create a crutch for the boys that, you can get a little easy out there. You can go a little sloppy. They're just going to cut to this angle, cut to that angle. They'll edit it out. Edit it out. Cut that part out.
Cut that pot out.
I don't like that part. Cut that part out. So you'll be like, now when they go back to live shows, are you going to have that? That's why I just hope they don't get too caught up in all this Hollywood editing end of things. And it's got to be a live production. That'd be like going to watch a play, but then you watch a movie instead of the play. You're like, no, I went to watch a live play. So there's something to that to be said. So I hope they keep that in mind and don't get too caught up in that. Now, what did you think as we move on here? The match really was just going back and forth. I thought AJ did a great job of doing what he's supposed to do against a big, giant guy, of being and this is all not necessarily puns intended, but I'm a little tired and I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But he was very Shawn Michaels in a ladder match. It's not necessarily a pun, but it's all everything in meant to be there. He was Shawn Michaels. They had the big Diesel character outside, the big Sid Justice character outside as the bodyguard. He was bumping and flipping and taking those hits from Drew McIntyre and just selling it like crazy.
That's precisely what I have here down. I have the way AJ takes bumps shows the real difference between real stars and then the new generation of indie guys that are out there just playing wrestler. None of them. So AJ is obviously the heel in this match. McIntyre is the babyface. This is what heels are supposed to do down to a T, is exactly what AJ's doing. The babyface is bigger than you. You oversell, you flip, you flop, you're down for the count on almost every big move. And that's where AJ stood out way ahead of the pack on this one. He sold his ass off.
He sold his ass off like incredibly. Drew had the one sloppy spot that I remember is when he went to do that, like throw him outside the ring on top of the table, and he like overthrew him. And AJ was lucky to hit the table at that point.
Yeah, I don't know how the table broke. It must have been gimmicked like a motherfucker, because AJ's shoulder blades may have grazed the table at best, but that table just fucking cracked right in half.
It was a wrap on that. But yeah, that was about it. It was there was another funny spot where AJ was going up the ladder. Drew went underneath him and had him in like a powerbomb position. Then AJ rolls out of it and then kind of rolls him up into a pin. And then Drew wiggles his feet and kicks out, and you're going, well, they forget that it was not a pinning predicament here or something, but, what are you going to do? It's live. I'm not going to be too picky on him. That was just a funny spot I made a note of there. And then we get the surprise, though, in this match.
Well, yeah, I want to real quick, before we get to the surprise entrant here, I do want to pick on Omos here.
Okay.
Omos just stood outside the ring, not doing a goddamn thing for the most part. And the one time Omos decides to get involved in this match, He slides a ladder in when there's a perfectly fine, usable ladder leaned right up against the turnbuckle. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever for Edward James Olmos to slide another ladder in for them to use.
Edward James.
This is the time you decide to interfere, and it has absolutely no purpose whatsoever. You almost ruin this match, you idiot. But moving on.
We get a Money in the Bank cash in.
Yes. Drew. I was called Drew Barrymore. Drew McIntyre is climbing the ladder. He's got AJ incapacitated, and Miz comes in, knocks Drew off the ladder, cashes in his briefcase, and this all of a sudden is a triple threat TLC match.
Triple threat with a potential fourth man in the match because Miz rolls with Morrison, so he stayed nice and involved as well.
Yeah, Morrison did a way better job than almost there. So
yeah, we'll go on from here. And then, so what did you think about the cash in? Did that throw you and you're like, well, that's it. Somebody's cashing in. It's a wrap.
I didn't expect it. It came out of nowhere, but at no time whatsoever did I ever expect Drew was going to drop the belt. He already dropped it quick once a few weeks back. Just got it back, it seems, fairly recently, one or a couple weeks ago.
Couple weeks.
Yeah. And so there's no way they're going to take that belt off him again. That would be career suicide. That would destroy Drew McIntyre's credibility.
You'd be led to believe that, but that Money in the Bank cash-in is almost like a guarantee on these type of things. Traditionally.
True, but it would be absolutely rotten to take it off Drew McIntyre right now. And to put it on The Miz, I really don't think too many people care about The Miz.
Unfortunately, no. Drew and The Miz, they had a good set of exchange of punches, and then Miz, what do I got here? Oh, I like that Miz would grab for the title. Like, he actually got up on top. They're on the ladder. They actually had a good back and forth. AJ, Miz, bam, bam, bam. But in between the punches or whatever, Miz would reach up and, like, actually touch the title. Like, I almost, like, it wasn't, again, we're back to good teasing of that touching that title and trying to get your hands on the title. It wasn't super, like, I don't know where it's at. I can't reach it. It's here somewhere. Where they forget what they're supposed to do. I like that.
Yeah, lots of fingertip touches
Yeah.
and lots of teasing, and almost decides to get involved again. Miz is up there just about to grab that belt, almost pulls him down, cradles him like a baby, drops him over the top rope right through a table.
Yeah, and then go ahead.
And then that's where we get our involvement from John Morrison for the first time. And this, Jesus Christ, Brian.
I know what they were going for. They were going for to oversell almost as a big, scary, mean giant and have him be the big, impenetrable force there. And so they have him swing the chair, take a chair shot to the back, and the chair explodes.
Morrison hops in. Almost is standing there. Morrison smacks the shit out of him with the chair, and the chair, just like you said, Brian, explodes, shatters, and almost no sells it. It is no sell whatsoever, not a wince of pain. So now almost is now Superman. He's indestructible, and I don't think that's going to bode well for his future.
Yeah, that overselling of that chair exploding, just a regular chair shot and a no-sell would have been plenty. But at a no-sell chair shot that explodes all over. I mean, I don't know how Morrison was able to swing that gimmick chair without exploding before it hit him. Like it's
got to be made out of pure balsa wood.
Like if he would have taken it back too fast, it could have broke. So I don't know, man. That was a little overzealous for me, but nonetheless, it happened. And but that is what that did, though, is it cleaned up the ring, and now we got Omos and Morrison out of there as Morrison bounced and almost chased him off into the back. So that kind of
Right.
tidied that up a little bit to get rid of some of these bodies out there.
That brings us back to our original triple threat. And then this is where we get the ladder spot fest, where we got Miz, McIntyre, and Styles just continuously battling on the ladders, tipping them over, pulling each other off, slamming each other. And
Get the AJ
finally,
leap.
Drew tips them both off the ladder, gives Miz a big old claymore to the jawbone, and finally reaches up and snags the belt down. Drew retains.
Yes, Drew does retain. The Money in the Bank was cashed in, was not officially. He didn't win anything with it. So my question is what the hell was up with this whole Money in the Bank thing since March? So they had this Money in the Bank match at WrestleMania. They have Otis win it on accident. He carries it around for several months. They don't talk about it. Then they put it up for grabs in a match. Miz wins it back. He runs around saying he's going to cash it in. He cashes it in and then loses it. So there's all this around this Money in the Bank, and then they're like, we're bored.
Yes, much ado about nothing
Much.
is what I guess would say. Because
Well, you about summed that up, didn't you, in one sentence? Much ado about nothing.
why get Miz involved at all unless you were just trying to get his name up there and trying to push Otis to the back a little bit? As we discussed before, he kind of got sent to extra training classes to work on to learn a new hold, as you say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there really was no point whatsoever of moving this briefcase around and hyping it up just so nothing can happen from it.
Yeah.
Poof, gone.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. Oh, I didn't know what the point was at the end of it. You go, what was all that about? There's a lot of pomp and circumstance about this, and then nothing came about it. But we still have Drew McIntyre as your WWE champion, and I'm not sure where they're going to go with Miz, where they're going to go with AJ Styles, but we shall see in the future. And now we will move on to Carmella and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, we had in between this, we had a little backstage interview with Paul Heyman being interviewed by Kayla Braxton, and Paul Heyman he just reminded us in this segment that thank God he's there to talk for Roman Reigns, because Roman nobody would give two shits about Roman if he was making his own doing his own
promos
right now. It's all about Paul Heyman. He's still got it. He's killing it out there.
Well, of course. Paul's got the gift of gab. He can talk you into a ring, talk you into an arena.
But we do move on to Sasha Banks versus Carmella, and I don't have a whole lot of notes on this. I did watch it, I promise.
I did watch it, I promise.
I expected this to be a terrible match, and it was not a terrible match. I thought these two did pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have much on it either. I have a handful of things. I said it looks like Mella was getting a big push as she stepped up the ring attire, stepped up the entrance. It was, a little more show than it had been in the past. And I said in here, it says she's always had the attitude, but now it's just turned up to the 11. She was definitely going for that super heel. No question on who was who in this match. Who was heel, who was face. Mella was coming in as definite heel and being very aggressive in that manner.
Well, I don't watch WWE on a regular basis, and from what I've seen of Carmella in the past year or so, she's always just a background player. She's never in the forefront, never a main character in anything going on. So I was genuinely surprised of why she was getting a title shot against Sasha Banks. But I think it was a good decision. She's got the attitude. She's a snotty heel. And they got some cool spots in here. Carmella spiking Sasha right on her forehead.
Yeah.
That gave me a oof.
Oof. I thought what Carmella lacks in technical wrestling, she makes up for in her ability to talk and the attitude that she brought to the ring and the story that she can tell with that. And I think it goes vice versa for Sasha Banks, where Sasha lacks in her talking sometimes, she can back up as just a straight-up wrestler. So these two can kind of work off of that angle with each other on that stuff.
We got another cool spot that I felt compelled to take notes on. with Sasha throwing Carmella out of the ring and Reginald being in the right spot at the right time to catch Carmella, because if that spot got blown, Carmella was going to take a face full of mat right to the teeth.
Right to the teeth piece. Yes, that one kind of blew up around the Instagram reels and TikTok and stuff. There's a couple people talking about that, of how that guy really did his job in the match. He protected her and caught her because there was a lot going on, and then all of a sudden he was like right there pretty with the quickness. So he saved probably a pretty good injury.
Yeah, definitely. And then we get some more back and forth. A lot of submission moves going on. Sasha eventually gets the edge, slaps on the Banks statement, and it's a wrap from there. Sasha Banks retains.
She does. Now, what did you think about this? This is just a thought that I had going into this match. This is the TLC pay-per-view. First match was a ladder match. And then the next match is just a match. Do you think they all need to be gimmicked somehow of either a tables, ladders, or chairs match, or a complete TLC match? I thought this should have been. I guess Hell in the Cell. Every match isn't in Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, there was either 2 or 3 Hell in the Cells this year, but it's overkill if you do every match as a gimmick. I like how they sandwich these ones. They put one at the very beginning and one towards the end. That being TLC matches. I think it worked well. I didn't want a bunch of gimmicked matches. I was pleasantly surprised that we had some straight matches in this.
Yeah, I wasn't neither here nor there really on the whole thing. I didn't think it was bad, and I didn't think it was necessarily good either. I just thought it was interesting of how it was done. They pulled the whole thing off very well. So you just when you go into a TLC pay-per-view, for some reason in my head, I just think every match has got to be. In my head, I was thinking every match was a gimmick, but I didn't look into it, and I was like, oh, all right, they're doing some regular matches.
Come to think of it, Brian, I don't know if this is a Mandela effect in my head going on or what, but I almost remember TLC pay-per-views back in the day of there being tables matches, there being ladder matches, and there being chair matches. Am I thinking correctly, or did I just make that up in my head?
No, and then I think what changed that was then they had the big TLC match themselves, especially
with
the Dudleys and Edge and all
Hardy
that.
Boys.
So I think that changed it into the big just one TLC match instead of your tables match, your ladders match, your chairs match, whatever a chairs match was.
Yeah. I'm sure they had one at some point.
Get to hit people with chairs. But anywho, I thought it was fine. I just was curious on what your opinion was. Do you see this loss for Carmella as a burial? Oh, she's been buried. That's it. She's gone. The proverbial internet wrestling community loves to bury everybody. Nobody's allowed to lose. Everybody has to win, because if you lose, you're buried.
I think if they keep her paired up with Sasha, it by no means is it a burial, because this was a very competitive match and there was a lot of close calls where Sasha had to weasel her way out. So I think this could almost be a new beginning to a program between Carmella and Sasha. They could drag this thing out as long as Bayley and Sasha if they want to.
Yes. I had the same thought. I was curious on what your thought was. I think that it was just a step forward in her career. You're going to have to lose matches. People lose. The internet blows up. So-and-so's buried. That's it. They're buried. Well, it's a 2-person match. 50-50 odds. One of these two ding-dongs is going to lose. So I
guarantee you, every match that happens, and whether it's AEW, whether it's Impact, whether it's WWE, every match, I guarantee you there's somebody who says the loser of every single match got buried.
To me, the inverse of that would be buried. Sasha losing the belt so fast to Carmella, who has been gone off TV for so long, comes back, and boom, you lose the title after everything she went through with Bayley. And then you put her up in there, and then she loses the title that way. You're like, okay, that's a kick to Sasha. Now, losing to Sasha, all right, just challenge her again. Win the Royal Rumble, get the challenger again. There's plenty of ways to keep going with this. So, anyways, we shall move on, and that is that on my thoughts on that.
Yeah. Next on our list here, we've got Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin from the Hurt Locker versus Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. The New Day for the.
You always change it on me, and I always forget which one it really is, if it's the Hurt Locker or the Hurt Business. And luckily, I got my notes going on over here. So, but yeah,
And this is for the tag team championships, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. I don't know. There's too many damn belts flying around. But yeah, New Day's the current champions going up against the Hurt Business.
this is SmackDown.
right?
This is SmackDown.
SmackDown. Okay.
Yeah. Because the Street Profits are your Raw champions, tag team champions. New Day, Hurt Business. I don't know, man. It seems like we've seen this.
Yeah, it does. And
It doesn't. It
I
just,
mean, at least with this match, the camera work, the jumpy cameras actually came in handy for a catch me spot in this one, because you and I both we dog on catch me spots so much, especially with AEW. But this time it actually worked. I think it was Kofi that ended up going over the top rope and having somebody catch him. But the way they worked that camera, we had no idea there was somebody waiting out there to catch him in his nice, cuddly, gentle arms.
that's the only thing I can give WWE these days, is that they've put together these angles to set up for this spot. So don't shoot that shot until that person's going over the ring, or until that person's jumping, and then shoot it. Then you go, oh, hey, cool, there's somebody there. They're not going to die. That's fine. AEW, man, just shows them all gather up. Hey, you. Tap each other on the shoulder. Come over here. Gather up. Gather up. Let's put our arms around each other. It'll be fun.
Let's all do a big best friends hug. All 8 of us. We got to catch orange juice here.
Got to catch orange juice. I didn't take many notes on this thing. I kind of just sat back and watched it. It wasn't bad. It was
No,
a good
by
match.
no means. At one point, my son walked in again, and I pointed out Shelton Benjamin, and I was like, hey, you remember that guy used to walk around with Kurt Angle? And I go, he used to be skinny, now he's all built. But that just touches on the experience of all these guys. When you got 4 true professionals and they're doing a tag team match, unless there's some over the top spots there, you're really not going to have to take too many notes, because these guys all know what they're doing. They know how to sell. They know how to get a hot tag in. They don't know how to cut off the ring, and they know how to get heat and get people to cheer for the baby faces and boo the heels, which really isn't anything in WWE anymore, because the boos and cheers are pre-programmed. But, if they were in front of an audience,
They're on a hot button now. Yay! Yeah. Boo! Yay! The one thing you saw online on there was that there was that blind tag for that brought the match to the end. There was it Shelton Benjamin to Cedric, and then the face, like because he go in with a blind tag and kind of steal the win, and they get the W. Hurt Business gets that, and it kind of leads me to believe that there's a crumbling slowly, a crack in the foundation of the Hurt Business. But we shall see what happens with that. But it made me think with the blind tag steal, kind of jumping back to AEW last week with Matt Hardy stealing the pin. Was it 2 weeks ago?
No, it was twice last week.
Oh, twice last week.
Jericho did it. I think.
And then I know Matt Hardy did it too. So just that idea of that blind tag, steal the pin, and it kind of happened here with Cedric, and so we'll see how they go on with that. But you get some new WWE tag team champions, the Hurt Business.
Yeah, Hurt Business takes the win on this one. And just the one other note I took out of this match was demonstrated by Kofi Kingston. One thing it really stuck out to me when somebody's gonna miss a move, they don't commit to it. And Kofi Kingston's the king of it with the Trouble in Paradise. Every time he goes for Trouble in Paradise and he knows that he's going to miss, it's the chintziest, weakest Trouble in Paradise ever. They never just straight up go for it, miss, and look surprised. There's no commitment to it. It just seems so stagey. Okay, I know he's going to get out of the way and I'm going to miss, so I'm not going to follow through with it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, where you can tell they're going to pull back on a move and just kind of pussyfoot through it or not commit all the way through it. There's like you want to envision like somebody, let's just say taking a chair shot for an example, and I know you're going to duck, so I just kind of. But
Right.
I want opposite of that is you want to see me swing and everything goes right, you duck, but if you wouldn't have ducked, your head would
You're
be off
taking my
the
head
wall.
off.
You want to go, oh my God, good thing he ducked. He got away from that chair shot, that kick, that punch, that whatever it is. But if you go, hey, you missed that, you go, no, I'm not going to taken that. And just, what's the difference? I'll just take that hit and move on.
Exactly. If there's just no surprise anymore, and there's no exactly what you said. If Kofi would have followed through with that and one of the Hurt Boys, I don't know who he's going or would have took it, it just would have been wow.
Cool.
There's no excitement to it whatsoever. So that's just one thing I wanted to touch on is there needs to be more commitment and more surprise when somebody misses a move. It just seems so stagey.
Amen. I'm with you. Anything going on backstage segments that you noted on here?
Just Sami Zayn's segment with leaked audio from him flipping out. Sami Zayn giving away the Sami Awards last week or something to that effect. Thought he was going to give himself the Sami I keep wanting to say Slammy, for Performer of the Year, Wrestler of the Year, and it went to Big E Langston. And there's quote-unquote leaked audio of him flipping his shit backstage for giving the award to the wrong person.
Well, there you go. Cool story.
And I didn't care. So, yeah, but...
And I didn't care.
Next on our card here, we have Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Asuka and her mystery partner, which is...
Who could it be?
The return of Charlotte Flair, which we haven't seen Charlotte Flair since like June.
Yeah.
She went to go get her titties fixed and she had some silicone leakage and got them bad boys just ripped out and tossed in the garbage can. And she's back in action, baby.
I was thinking that it could be, when I was watching this, you hate to be like the guy, the I told you so guy that just keeps saying things until he gets right, but he's wrong 10 times. I literally was thinking, like, this could be Charlotte. This would be a good time to bring her back. We haven't seen her in a while, but they haven't teased anything or heard anything, and then her music hit, and I went, well, son of a bitch, I predicted that right. But, nobody's going to believe me. It's easy to say sitting here a week later.
Exactly.
I predicted
it.
I knew that.
I've got a segment coming up where in my notes, and I'm like, I have a feeling this is going to happen, and it does. But a week later, what the hell does it matter, right?
What the hell does it matter? But I did think it was a good time. What the hell? Why not? I mean, it worked good, fit good. Unfortunately, you knew, like, what has to happen, though.
Oh, clearly.
Opposed to Money in the Bank, where you go, the Money in the Bank was cashed in. They never bone the Money in the Bank, recipient, but, sometimes they have. John Cena has not cashed it in appropriately and won the title. Now Miz, whatever. There's probably a couple others I'm not thinking of. But with this being Charlotte's big return, you're going, well, this is kind of a squash.
Yeah, we kind of knew what was going to happen, but we got to take a step back and realize that having Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Asuka, and Charlotte Flair all in one match, somehow the WWE put together my Mount Rushmore, Brian.
They put together your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, my Mount Rushmore of visually unappealing female wrestlers. These four are the most hideous female wrestlers I've ever seen in my illustrious career.
Hold on, let me put this on a solo shot so this can just be Eric Todd expressing his opinions. These opinions are expressed solely of Eric Todd and not of the KayFabe Smark podcast.
All right, let's just think about it. We've got Asuka here. Asuka looks like a Japanese anime character that somebody spilled the ink blot and it just went ape shit. We've got Shayna Baszler, who's pretty much Samoa Joe after weight loss surgery. we got Charlotte Flair, which her nudes leaked, and goddamn, was that scary. And last but not least, we've got Nia Jax here. And oh my god. I know body shaming is not cool anymore.
Not cool anymore. It was cool. There was a good time for it.
Apparently, maybe in the 70s. But Nia Jax, we got to talk about the elephant in the room here. She's wearing a tan bodysuit or gold, and holy fuck, if that's not Jabba the Hutt, I don't know what is. This was just this match was just prescription anorexia. You don't want to eat while you watch this match.
For those of you not watching the video portion of the show, I am currently wiping tears from my eyes as he's got me laughing a little hard here.
What?
Make sure you head on over to YouTube and watch the video version. Subscribe, like, and review.
Brian's trying to distance himself from the segment as much as possible as he hides in the corner of his camera. But
oh shit.
All chauvinistic bullshit aside, pretty good match.
He says, pretty good match.
Oh, fuck.
My only notes I literally have, as soon as you see Charlotte, you know something big has to happen, and was more of a squash match. But what are you gonna do?
Hey, Charlotte did a moonsault off the top rope onto the floor. It was a catch me spot, but still impressive. We haven't seen this girl in months.
Yeah, it's the tag team champions. They never seem to do anything with it appropriately, anyways. So what the hell? Take it off these two, slap it on her. Now you've got your women's champion is part of half of the tag team champions with the newly returning Charlotte Flair. So what the hell? What's it matter? Why start making sense now?
Exactly. It's just another hodgepodge, throw it together team. These two have nothing in common, and I don't see this thing going anywhere.
The only thing that we can get out of it is that long term, they can work as a tag team. They'll defend it successfully 2 to 3 times. The third time, there's going to be a breakdown in the foundation of the two of them, and from there, they will fall apart as a tag team, and then you will have a reason for Charlotte to be challenging for the championship after they lose it.
Cut and paste, normal.
Call it, within no later than WrestleMania. But, this should all happen. It may happen before that, but, if you figure, as crazy as it sounds, Mania's not that far out.
Right. It's only about 4 months away.
Right.
But yeah, cookie cutter booking at its finest. We totally know what's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon.
Knowing WWE, though, and the challenge they're having with ratings as of, at least on Raw, this may happen tomorrow. Because they need to have knee-jerk reactions. They could instantly lose the titles tomorrow, challenger, and then this could be your Royal Rumble pay-per-view match. But I think they should spread it out a little longer, but that's all I got on that.
Yeah, and just one more thing. WWE has really softened up Shayna Baszler. Remember Shayna Baszler from the Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, that was when she was starting to break through and be like, whoa, she's going to be the head motherfucker in charge.
Right. HBIC there, but she would make short work of anybody who got in her way. She had a straight up MMA style, and she didn't sell for shit because she was the baddest broad in the room, no doubt. But now we saw her in this match. She's selling for these lily soft girl moves, and Shayna selling for straight up women wrestling moves is not the Shayna Baszler that we knew when she made the jump from NXT up to WWE. And that's exactly what I was saying with Almost there. You start somebody off as indestructible and then gradually make them softer and more vulnerable.
Then
It
what do you do?
kind of kills the character there. It's not the person you were introduced to.
Exactly. And then what do you do? Where do you go from there? You can go from being weak to building yourself up to getting stronger and better and becoming, the Rocky story. You come from nothing to something. You go up, but if you come in as something, you can only go.
Right. If you've got Shayna Baszler, who wouldn't even sell for Rhea Ripley, and now you could put her in there with, I don't know,
Io Shirai.
yeah, you could put her in there with Riho, and she would sell for Riho now. It's like, come on, this chick ain't tough.
Yeah, you ain't tough no mo. I agree. It's very touchy on how, like, that long-term thought process that you have to have with these characters that you build. And how do you make them go from 100 and then, Vince is hot on somebody and then, 2 weeks later he's not. Not only is he not hot on him, like he's just completely like, now that's a burial. Losing a match isn't a burial. That's a burial. You've been buried. Just getting the shit thrown on you. You're just whatever you were. Not anymore. You're just a person. That shit sucks.
So that there's nothing that sticks out about Shayna Baszler anymore. So she's just gonna mosey around the mid card area now, and it's unfortunate. I'm not a huge fan of how she looks, but but her work in the ring when she first made the jump up to the big time was unquestionable. Yeah. It was amazing, and now she's just one of the girls.
Yep, just another face in the crowd. That is it. Now we're moving on. Any backstage segments? I always skip the backstage segments. You always seem to remember something happening. So any backstage segments before we skip on?
No, we might have had something, but
nothing
whatever
worth
it was
noting.
Was stupid.
But whatever it was stupid.
So we just move right on to Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens in our second TLC match of the night.
Yeah, our second title match as well. So Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens. Where you at, Eric? Talk me through this.
There's a lot to say about this match. It started off really good. Roman made his entrance, and the first thing I was thinking was, I'm sure you and I were on the same page on this one, champion coming out first. You don't want to give the challenger top billing. That's usually bad news. But in this case, they only sent Roman out first so that KO could storm the ring before he is even introduced, attack him from behind, and just start going ham with cannonballs all over the place. Cannonballs in the corner, cannonballs on the barricade, just
cannonballs deep.
Throwing his fat ass up against Roman at every chance he got.
You crack.
I'm allowed to say it. I'm 6'1", 265. I can call Kevin Owens a fat ass.
It happens. Keep going. What you got? Give me this next thing. Let me know what you thought. I don't have a big notes on this one. It just anyways.
I took notes galore. A couple spots that stuck out to me was Roman at one point was laying out on the floor outside of the ring, and KO frog splashed him, and whew, that was a stiff frog splash. Kevin Owens brought every pound of that belly down on Roman Reigns. And I don't know if Roman was selling or if he was really hurt, but there was loogies all over the floor from Roman coughing. And, oh, man, that Kevin dropped every ounce onto Roman. At least it looked like it.
I think in a match like that, you have to go a little harder in the size difference of the two, the physical attributes of the two. Roman, spectacular shape. Kevin Owens, dad bod. Like, it just is what it is. Nothing against him. I've got my own dad bod. But you have to sell these things. So you have to put out there that Kevin is literally willing to put it all on the line. And you have to maybe go a little harder, throw some potatoes in these matches, and make things a little hotter in these moves, so that way it sells it more that he's putting it all on the line. He's cannonballing and frog splashing his ass off to really kill the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to get lost in the match. It's going to get lost. Like, what are we watching here? This is really happening? That move through Roman Reigns? Like,
well, this was almost the mirror opposite of the first TLC match that was more of a match with some gimmicks. This thing, the gimmicks were used and abused all the way through the match. So with every spot being a table or a ladder spot or a chair spot, you're giving it a hardcore vibe. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying, and I totally agree. You gotta be a little stiff out there, make it look like a real fight.
Yeah, that's my only thought, is that you'd have to do that. You're also coming in with Roman Reigns, who sometimes needs to be treated with kid gloves in these matches to look good. Roman doesn't always go out and look good. He's been made to look good. And then you've also got Kevin Owens coming from, maybe a trigger went off in his head from some old Ring of Honor days when they just beating each other in bingo halls with tables, ladders, and chairs for no apparent reason, and really trying to make a nice viral video for the internet. So they were overselling and overperforming and really putting it all on the line. So who knows what was going on in their heads or what they were told to do. But I thought some of the moves were sold and put out well to make it look aggressive.
Yeah, one thing I was slightly disappointed on is whenever Kevin Owens is involved in a big match, he's going to do something absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And I didn't really see it. He didn't jump off the scaffolding or
off the WrestleMania sign,
smash his head into a cinder block, or yeah, he didn't do anything over the top retarded in this match. He kept it clean as much as you can in a TLC match.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think? What did you think of this match overall, top to bottom? Just what did you think? I didn't care. I just didn't care going into it.
The end is what killed me at this one. We had Jey Uso kept getting involved, and we ended up going in a circle where Jey Uso would come in, he would get fought off, he would get incapacitated. KO would take advantage and start the process to winning the match. Roman would stop him. Roman would get the advantage. KO would stop him. And right, just like clockwork, Jey Uso would come back. So it was just a circular motion in this match, constant rotation of Roman, KO, Jey Uso, Roman, KO, Jey Uso. And that's what I was touching on earlier, where KO powerbomb Roman Reigns through a table, and in my head I was like, here comes Jey Uso, and just like clockwork, here comes Jey Uso, and it just got predictable. It started dragging towards the end, and it went about 15 minutes longer than it should have.
It went almost 25 minutes, 24:45 is what is being reported ahead. So
could have been done in 10, Brian.
They're trying to give Roman Reigns as much screen time as they can these days, and I just don't think I don't think that's what he needs.
If you would have taken out the repetitive
Jey Uso
same spots with a different shade of light on them, this match would have been cut down to about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, Roman Reigns defeats Kevin Owens, retains. Nothing major. Like, it wasn't no surprise. Did you think there was a fighting chance that you'd see Kevin Owens win?
No, not at all. What I did want to touch on here, I just found my note here, is Michael Cole was apparently smoking crack or watching a different match, because Roman Reigns is clear as day. It's on everybody's screen. Power bombs Kevin Owens through onto a ladder. Michael Cole exclaims loud and clear, "Owens, spine buster through the table." And then they go back and show the replay, and here comes Michael Cole again. Watch the impact of Kevin Owens being sent through that table. It was a power bomb onto a ladder. I that was a point of confusion to me. Like, what the hell? Is Michael Cole in a different room? Is he? Did he accidentally tune into TLC last year? What the fuck is going on with this idiot?
That's funny. A couple years ago, I forget which pay-per-view I was watching, but then so I stopped it, fell asleep or something, and came back the next day or whatever to turn it on, and I didn't pay attention to what I did, and I clicked, and it was last year's was queued up in the WWE Network, so I started watching it. I'm going, what is? When did those guys become a tag team again? And it was when they put the Bludgeon Brothers they were a team, and so Luke but they were fighting each other in the next year, and I'm going, what am I doing? And then finally, 20 minutes, I realized watching the wrong pay-per-view. So that was just a side story that could happen. Maybe he was watching this. Maybe he was calling this one from home. Got the wrong video.
Yeah, I could have swore I saw him there, but yeah, he might have been. He might have been hanging out with Ronaldo, and
they're getting fancy with those video productions these days. He could have just been on a laptop from his house, waving from his webcam.
But yeah, hats off to Michael Cole for not knowing what the fuck he's even talking about.
Well, there you go.
The long and short of it, Roman Reigns retains, and just as we expected, we know they're not going to take the belt off him anytime soon. No. That would be another burial. You spent all this time building up Roman Reigns, putting him with Paul Heyman, just to shit on him like that. It's not going to happen.
At a TLC.
Kevin Owens, let's face it, is not Universal Champion material.
Oh, see, I would disagree on that. He's not Universal Championship material to take it from Roman Reigns at a TLC pay-per-view. If this would have been one of the big fours, if you could have said this was Rumble, Mania, Survivor Series, whatever, then maybe you had a fighting chance that I could buy that he would win it over on a bigger scale, something that's been sold a little longer. If they continue this down the road and have this happen, at SummerSlam, or not SummerSlam, it's too far away now, but Royal Rumble possibly, or Mania, then yeah, maybe, but not at a TLC. Essentially this was just a left of Raw.
I just don't see Owens. When I say I don't see him as championship material, I see him as a transitional champion. Fine. Have him take the belt off somebody during a pay-per-view to move it along to someone else. But if I'm booking a company, I don't want Kevin Steen as the face of my company.
Got to remember, he already held it once.
Yeah, for what? I don't know.
Yeah, not very long. Because Finn Balor got hurt.
Yeah, but I don't want some guy with a dad bod, call me old school, some guy with a dad bod and a beard who's goofy on the internet in his spare time, who has to wear a t-shirt and cuts the arms off of it. That's not the face of my company. I'm sorry. He transitional champion at best, IC champion, but yeah, I don't see Kevin Steen as ever being a real contender for somebody to carry that belt for a year, like CM Punk.
Yeah, well, you may be right. Only the future shall see. Move on to this final match here.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Football fuckery, anybody?
It had so we're talking about Randy Orton taking on the Fiend Bray Wyatt.
I enjoyed
in a Firefly Inferno match. We'll make sure we line that up.
Oh yes. I enjoyed the video package that played ahead of this. Once again, I haven't been up on the feud between Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, so this put it back together for me nicely, and I thought,
well, let's just break it down. It couldn't have been that long of a feud. Randy was just feuding with Drew McIntyre.
You're right.
And then he had they fought 3 times or some nonsense between SummerSlam to just recently, then won the title, lost the title. So what's this only been, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month that this whole feud could have taken place, at most 4 weeks?
They're AEW booking now. An entire feud can happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
But,
so who the hell? Like, so he's not like, oh, I missed out on this long drawn out feud of Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Hell, if you blinked, you'd missed it. If you changed the channel to see what was happening on something else, you wouldn't have even known they were feuding. Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, Firefly Inferno match, meaning somebody has to be set on fire.
Yes, and the rules are very clearly stated on multiple occasions. All you have to do is set any part of your opponent on fire to win the match, and that comes into play at the end where there's a little confusion going on. But as far as the beginning of this match, we get about a solid minute of Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt just kind of staring each other down, making rounds. Randy Orton finally takes initiative and attacks Wyatt. Wyatt no sells, accentuating his monster heel status.
Do you think they move slow? Pardon me. Do you think they move slow because it's hard for Bray to breathe in that mask? Do you think they move slow because Bray is blown up by the time he walks from the entranceway to the ring? His matches are always so slow. But they're not even like that methodical slow. It's just slow. And it wasn't Randy Orton's style.
No, we did get the best of both worlds here. Randy Orton's matches seem to be moving slow, but in a methodical sense, just like you said. Bray Wyatt, I would have to agree with you. It's probably a combination of his terrible body and his restrictive mask. He probably can't get going too much or he'll be blown up within seconds.
It just seems so, like you said, it's just bleh. Anyway, so we move on. Now, this match starting, I was being sold a bill of goods that it was a real match, meaning that this was not pre-produced, meaning this was happening live as I was watching it.
Hell, there was people in the audience, Brian.
There was people in the audience. WWE's no dummies. So then I was trying to... So then...
I see what you did there.
I'm watching it, and then that chair comes out, right? The rocking chair gimmick piece.
Right.
Sets the rocking chair out. He squirts it with the gas or dumps the gas on it, and he makes the trail. I'm like, And then, whatever, they're fighting flip-flop back and forth, and they're getting him into the chair. They get Randy in the chair, finally. And he lights the Zippo. Now, the lighting of the Zippo was very movie-esque. It was
right.
Cut to him. He opens it, and it lights. That never happens.
No. I smoked for 13 years, and I always carried a Zippo.
Sometimes it might take 2. So, first shot, he got it to the light. In a room, lots of production, things happening. Nothing blew that thing out. Nothing moved the flame. Boom, he lights it. Randy's reaction looked like he had been bored and done that about 3 or 4 times.
Now, you were more observant of that than I was, Brian, because I thought it was a cool spot. I thought if it was indeed live, which, as we find out later, this thing was pre-taped multiple times. If it came across as live, Randy did an awesome job with his timing. But sitting in the chair, bored as, yeah.
I was on the fence the entire time. That when that happened, I was like, oh, just seems... Now it's like the angles are getting a little more dramatic. It was the way they started cutting that camera. They're here, they're there, they're there, they're here, they're there. The camera was always in the right spot for a cut. Remember back in the Attitude Era when it was... I hate to always go back to the Attitude Era, but, it's something near and dear to my heart. When you go back and they would cut... Sometimes they would literally cut, but they were cutting to just like a camera moving. Not all the time. I don't think it was being sold to me that they were cutting to a camera moving because it was a Jerry Springer moment and the camera was like, they were acting like the camera wasn't there and they're running to get to it. Sometimes I think that literally they just were cutting to a live camera. We got to go, cut back there, and the guy just wasn't 100% ready. So you got some of that live feel to it. You didn't get a live feel to these cameras. There was no just a minute late, just a little early, just something else. It was perfect. perfectly caught him lighting the fire, perfectly was able to cut to see the flame roll right up nice and slowly to the chair, and for Randy Orton to get out of it just in time. Perfect. So I knew something was amiss. And then when they lit off those big pyros in the crowd, and then the commentators were like, "Oh my God, what are those?" Well, that's the sticks. See those sticks, the black sticks that come out of those boxes over there?
The little bully stick swirling around there.
They had a little swirly stick that went up. That's what the fire comes out, and there you go. That's what's on fire. It was just stage production. You go to any Megadeth concert, Metallica, or Pantera in the '80s, flames are shooting up the sides. It happens. It's the same thing. So
to go along with your pre-production, overproduced thing, how'd you feel about every time somebody got punched or every time somebody got slammed, the pyro went off and flames shooting up into the sky every time a move was performed?
I can take that back to the first Inferno match with Kane. They had that. It was a different setup. They had the fire in the ring. Now, this was done in front of people. This one was done in front of people, so go back, look it up on your WWE Network. Inferno match. I'm having drawing a blank on who Kane fought. I want to say it was Austin, but I think that was a first blood match I'm thinking of. But nonetheless, Kane did an Inferno match. So every time there was a big slam or a big power move, the flames around the ring did go off. That was whatever. It was just part of the show. What I got caught up watching was the people on the, quote, TVs.
Bored.
Because I'm trying to watch to see if this is a looped video from old shit that they had people maybe either earlier in the night for whatever was live, or from what was recorded from previous Raws, SmackDowns, and or pay-per-views that they used to pop up on the screen. Were these people popping and moving and interested at the right moments when they should have been watching a, quote, live thing happen?
Nobody was reacting.
So I wasn't sure if these were recorded reactions or if people just were watching it and were not into it. I couldn't put it together. I didn't know how they were doing it. I'm like, are they doing this live and then people that are at home on Thunderdome, but then they wouldn't be there? So it has to be different people. So they had to pop up different people when it was recorded. I was trying to go through this like inception of recording and live. So yeah, those people were from another time when they popped it up there. Those people that were watching it were not watching it with us.
Yeah, at one point someone did make it onto one of the screens in the Thunderdome with a double thumbs down, and they were immediately zipped out of the arena. But yeah, I was wondering that too, because obviously these are 2 or 3 take spots that are happening.
Right, because if this is produced, this was recorded either earlier in the day before. So did they bring people in? Was there a secret thing to go pulled in to watch this?
Doubt it.
Or was it just old video popped up there?
There seemed to be no reactions to anything. Again, overproduced and set up. We got Bray Wyatt pulling one strap from under the ring and beating Randy with it, and then he just puts that strap down, reaches under the ring and gets a second strap that's soaked in kerosene or whatever accelerant they chose to use that night, lights it on fire, swings and misses at Randy. And so yeah, I think that could have been just reduced to the fire strap. Why have 2 straps? Why use one and switch it for the fire strap? And why follow it up by taking a full-size pickaxe and swinging it as hard as you can at Randy Orton? Did anybody at home, did anybody watching this think that Bray Wyatt was really going to try and put a pickaxe through Randy Orton's fucking head?
I knew you were going to be mad at that because we talked about it with the War Games and the moves and the weapons there being used of sledgehammers and such, screwdrivers that they were going to stab people with in that War Games match on NXT a few weeks back. So with that being said, I was like, oh, Eric's going to hate that. Now, I think they should have went for it, though. They should have went for the full swing and put it through the ring.
Yeah. If you're going to do it, do it.
Be like, oh, my God, he missed him. But, like, to be like, heh. and missed and put it down. Like, you should have went, and you could have got, I mean, you're pre-producing it, so just some cuts.
Right.
If you're going to do it, then have it look like he swung it and it went through the ring and be like, Randy just got out of the way. There you go. But they didn't, and they sold it bad. So it's like they put it together. This was a mix of your overproduced Hollywood matches, your cinematic matches, and then a regular match. This was a mix of the two. They sold you pretty good in the beginning. You got sucked in, and then if you were paying close enough attention, you realized, wait a minute, you tricky me.
And as far as the outfits here, the outfits were another thing that were noticeable. Randy Orton always wears boots and panties. Every single match. This time he's wearing what appears to be a polyester tracksuit and a Legend Killer hoodie, and maybe that was just to, I don't know, protect him from the flames or whatnot. But I want to give props to Jim Cornette, who is on vacation right now, but still put out a YouTube video just for this match and pointed out right off the bat that Bray Wyatt looked like Biker Doink.
I saw those pants too, and I'm like, oh man, he looks like Doink. He's got them Doink striped pants on. He reached into the box of gimmicks.
Biker Doink, who joined the Sons of Anarchy, is what was quoted from Cornette, and he hit the nail right on the head with that leather jacket, and we get to see what the thick pants and the thick leather jacket was all about here in just a moment.
Yeah, it was. If you go back and look at that Kane Inferno match, he fought Undertaker at the time, in one of them for sure. I want to say, I keep thinking Austin was in one, but nonetheless, I remember it though. That was when Kane. Remember when Kane wore both long sleeve before he went to just a one arm exposed?
That's right. Yeah.
So it was like a big deal. Like, you're watching it going, well, of course he's gonna. Kane has to catch on fire. He's got the full gimmick on. So if Randy would have went out there in just his boots and panties for this fire match, you're going, how would they catch him on fire? So then you would completely eliminate him.
Right. That's a very good point.
So what's he got? Just a pair of boots? And you catch his toes on fire? You give him hot toes?
Give him a hot foot. Yeah.
And then, or just catch his little pair of underwear on fire? Like, you can't, that isn't it. So they have to give him, he had to go in and kind of protect himself with a hoodie and, track pants on. So that made a little sense to me. I could buy that. And then with Bray staying in his full Sons of Anarchy Doink get up. So I thought that made sense to me. That was fine. Where are we at in the match that you want to talk about? I can kind of start to bring it home towards the end if you want my opinion.
Just more gimmicks coming out. Randy wrapping a chain around his fist and hitting Biker Doink across the dome a couple times. Bray Wyatt making a comeback, finding another kerosene-soaked axe handle, and lighting that on fire and swinging for the fences on Orton. But Orton finally does a reversal, pushes old Bray Wyatt into the flames. Bray Wyatt's leather jacket and a couple parts of his pants that appear now put a leather jacket on him, and you got Bray Wyatt almost down to the face paint. And
this is the creepiest Doink Bendham's character I've ever seen. Oh, hey, you got a little Windows update there. Don't mind me, guys.
Yeah. But I keep wanting to call him Doink now. Bray Wyatt catches on fire, and this is where I thought the end of the match should have just been announced. They should have called it.
So
his jacket caught on fire, his legs caught on fire, so that should have been done. Finito,
right.
Done with the match.
So they're in a little thing, scuffle there against the barricade. There's the fire, the flames. Boom, Randy's there. He rotates. Poof. Bray's in the back. He gets brazed. His back catches on fire. He runs around. He hops in the ring. That's what puts him out, and that's fine. He caught on fire, and I was like, well, that's the match. And you're watching and watching and watching, and there's no announcement that he won the match. There's no bell. There's no nothing. And it was just weird. I'm like, why? What are they? And you can do your stuff at the end. You can go overboard at the end of a match. That's fine, but why didn't they just call the match? And your winner, Randy. They didn't.
Right. So that left me in a state of confusion alongside with Bray Wyatt being knocked out from one RKO. Do you remember, Brian, when Bray Wyatt fought Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, and then he got his entire
He
tool.
got hit. He got hit with a school bus, a fucking sledgehammers,
Every toolbox, every tool in the toolbox, and chairs, and
oh yeah, toolboxes put through a wood chipper, everything. And O'Brien, none of that kept Bray Wyatt down. He came back and won the goddamn match. But one, you catch his jacket on fire and give him one solitary RKO, done. He was out for a solid 5 minutes before we got to the conclusion of this match.
I mean, laid there. And there's a reason that he laid there so long, Eric. It's because that was not him laying there.
It was until the very end. I knew the finish of this match before I watched it, so I was observing every detail.
You looked it up?
Bray Wyatt laying there.
You saw the ending before you got to the...
I watched this pay-per-view way late.
Oh,
so
like way late.
Shit coming across Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. So yeah, I was ready for it, and I watched everything about Bray Wyatt laying there. So I was watching the amount of skin you could see between his gloves and his jacket. I was looking at his mask. I was looking at his hair, and we get him laying there for a while, even through the point where Randy Orton finds a gas can and covers Bray Wyatt with gas. And then we get the old switcheroo on us when Randy's out there getting a box of matches that are conveniently laying on the barricade.
That's where you keep matches. I mean, where wouldn't you keep matches? You need matches. You got to keep them somewhere.
Right. Just in case one of the spiral sticks goes out, you got to relight the gas.
The gas man. So then they light. He strikes a match, and they're screaming, "Don't do it, Randy. Don't do it." Somebody's got to stop him.
Tight shot of Randy staring at the match.
And poof, he lights Bray Wyatt on fire. He murders a man on TV.
Now, we cut to black very soon after this. We only get a split second between the time of Randy staring at the match and the wide shot of Bray Wyatt laying down. This is the cheesiest, fakest styrofoam mannequin dummy I've ever seen. The mask is just, I don't know what the mask is supposed to be. It's just two gloves laying there inside of a jacket. This was the most cheaply, quickly, garbage put together fake mannequin thing I've ever seen in my life that Randy Orton lit on fire.
I thought, okay, so here, I'm just going to think here. We're pre-producing this already. We'll confide to that, right? That's happening. Being pre-produced. You have WWE money. You got some cheddar to spend. You can chip off some money.
2020, they made record profits.
You're telling me that in this pre-production there was no stuntman that had a similar body shape to Bray Wyatt because he's wearing a mask,
right,
and a wig with some, a man bun of dreadlocks glued to the back of his head, gimmicked up, that they couldn't literally light somebody on fire
for the 3 seconds that we see it.
Majority of his body was already covered in the match as it was, for protection purposes, right? So they couldn't reproduce this in a fire retardant suit with the mask on and light him on fire and have him run, get up and run out of the ring and through the curtain, and they could have been right there. As soon as he comes through the curtain, put him out with the fire extinguishers. At least he would have, lit him on fire and he would have ran away. Then Orton could have been standing there doing his whole gimmick and stuff, and it was but he just laid him there. And he was out so hard from that RKO, he didn't even wake up when he caught on fire, Eric. That's how unconscious he was. So he was murdered from an RKO before he was set on fire.
Yeah, where's the authorities when we need them? Randy Orton is a murderer, and
why aren't they being called? I'm with you. I watched that, and I don't even know. I can't even put myself back to being a kid, Attitude Era, pre-Attitude Era with, the Yokozuna Undertaker casket match back at Royal Rumble, like all those things that you watched back in the day, and you're like, whoa, this is so crazy and so like intense, and I can't believe they did that, and the Undertaker came through the screen, and I was all, woo, as a kid. I don't know if I even would have bought that as a kid. I'd have been like, well, I don't think that was a person. Because somebody who catches on fire.
So, yeah, there was basically, to break it down to brass tacks, there was 1,000,001 ways this could have been done better. And how they chose the absolute worst way to produce this thing is beyond me. You have a lifeless, ridiculous-looking dummy in place of Bray Wyatt. You have Bray Wyatt knocked out cold, basically dead to the world, from one RKO where even flames covering his body can't wake him up. And he's murdered on live TV. And
that's it.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
So then, besides that, we'll let it go. That it was cheese and bullshit. What is happening with Randy Orton? Or not Randy Orton. My apologies. What is happening with Bray Wyatt?
Well, we do find out, we get a little teaser the next night on Raw. I didn't watch it, but I read up on it. We get an appearance from Alexa Bliss.
Oh, yeah, in her playground.
Swinging on a swing, and she says a little poem about Bray Wyatt could be eating barbecue or
says he went home,
shit.
And when he comes back, maybe he'll come to my playground. Something like that.
Yeah.
So he went back home.
How'd he survive that, Brian?
Well,
Or are we supposed to suspend disbelief?
The Fiend was burnt, Eric.
The Fiend is a demon who isn't human and
kill
can't
him.
really die. He just disappears for a while.
Right. And then tweets about his friend passing away in real life.
Yeah. Then, unfortunately, Brody Lee dies a couple days later, and Bray Wyatt is forced to come out and make a heartfelt speech about it on his Instagram.
But so what do they give? So they kill him against Seth Rollins and Hell in the Cell. Put him through everything else. They do this burning thing. Like, the guy can't win. He never gets a W.
Well, he can't die either.
But he never gets, quote, buried, and not even like in the fact that he was like literally killed in 2 matches. It was the fact they just kill him, and then the matches end, and then I just don't see I don't see the long term. I don't see the long term here. But
we've been seeing this since WrestleMania, where I don't understand what the goal is now. So I always talk about, I believe I touched on it last week in detail, how the art of pro wrestling is making it seem real. WWE has thrown that completely out the window. We are 100% fantasy entertainment now, starting with AJ Styles getting buried alive in the Undertaker match.
Boneyard
match. Then we get, there may have been more in between, but we get Braun Strowman drowned in a swamp by Bray Wyatt and blood coming out of the water. So we killed Braun Strowman after we had Braun Strowman hit Braun Strowman with a shovel, and Braun Strowman came back alive. And we don't even mention that these characters are being murdered and just coming back to life magically.
It worked. Where they're getting ahead of themselves is it worked for matches or for characters such as Undertaker, Kane, Mankind.
We never literally killed them. Well,
I mean, they were buried alive matches.
But there's always a way out.
But I'm just saying, but you were able to buy those characters. They were supposed to be there. So I can put in that I buy a Bray Wyatt, is what I'm getting at. So now you can put Bray Wyatt in that category with those 3 to 4 guys, right? But what you can't put in there is the opposite, AJ Styles. AJ got buried and then just came back, and everybody's like, oh, look, AJ's back. He was buried. Nobody mentioned it. Like, he's not supposed to be a immortal force like The Undertaker or a Bray Wyatt, a demon, and all this. So those were the ones that I didn't like. Sure, Bray keeps getting killed and coming back, but I just don't see where they're going with the career. When you start doing it to other guys, Braun Strowman, AJ Styles, you're going, cool, anybody can just die and go away. Just need some time off. You got killed on TV. When am I coming back? How am I coming back? I don't worry about it. We'll just send you in. Bad soap operas. That was my twin. That was J.A. Styles.
And with Bray Wyatt, I guess the only thing I could really say is he's so over that I noticed that from the piped in cheers and boos. Randy Orton's obviously a heel. He's one of the best heels out there, but Bray Wyatt on paper should not be a babyface. He's a fucking demon, and he carries around a severed head, and he wears a scary mask, and he laughs real creepily, and he's not supposed to be a babyface, but between the audience, when there is one cheering him, and the piped in cheers for him, my point, I guess, is Bray Wyatt is so over that they can literally kill him. They can do whatever they want, and when he comes back, he'll be just as over.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess they're just using him for big over-the-top spots, and there's no worried about him actually being buried and sinking to the bottom of the card, because the audience is always going to love him. The fans are always going to love him.
Yeah. I just don't think they follow through on the opposite end of it either. I don't think they give the next guy a chance that's killed Bray Wyatt. They don't go around flaunting it. Hey, I killed Bray Wyatt. Seth Rollins just moved on to somebody else. Well, I fought him in Hell in a Cell.
Will do the same thing.
And Randy Orton's going to do the same thing. He went, where's he at? He went home, and when he comes back, he'll come to my playground. And Randy went, cool. All right, well, let me know when he's here. I'm going to go fight this guy now. There's no, I don't know. Just back in the day when The Undertaker would die and go away, right? He'd get buried alive or casket match or whatever it is. He would tease his way back. His music would come on, but he wouldn't come out. Bong. You'd hear that, and you'd be like, and then he wouldn't show up. Just like real haunting type stuff. Just Bray Wyatt will be gone until the one day he comes walking back out. Just gone. No tease, no nothing. Just boop, I'm back.
No.
I don't know, man.
And
it's weird.
Basically, that's all I got to say about this gimmicky-ass pay-per-view.
Overall, I thought the pay-per-view was entertaining, and it's right. I wasn't, blown away. The end of it was what was left in the taste in my mouth, and I went, oh, cool. They set a guy on fire. There's your family TV.
Yeah. Right. What audience are we going for now? We can't be going for kids. We just lit a demon on fire on TV. They're swinging pickaxes and flaming axe handles at each other. I don't know what we're going for. We're clearly not going for adults who are going to get behind one of these characters and root for them, because it's all fantasy gimmicky bullshit.
Yeah, super comic book, but it's not consistent is my problem. So that's where the other problem that I have with it comes in, is it's not consistently gimmicky. It's partially gimmicky. They can't be half pregnant. So make up your mind, people. Make up your mind. Eric, do you have anything else on TLC?
Nothing else on TLC. Just an announcement next week. We're shooting for, no promises, but we're shooting for doing the show a day early. We're going to be doing it on December 30th, because I think Brian and I both will be busy on New Year's Eve itself. So we will be watching AEW. We will be reporting immediately after the show ends. We will be starting our live podcast. And next week, we'll get to see, who knows, maybe next week is the week Tessa Blanchard comes to AEW and beats Brian Cage clean.
Here he's sneaky. Very, very sneaky, sir. Yes, we will go. We're going to try and do it on Wednesday. Just again, these holidays, we don't want to take any time off, so we'll get it in one way or another. Make sure you guys get on over to our YouTube, subscribe over there, like the show, comment, all that fun stuff. Get on over to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and we're posting videos and reels and having fun chopping the show up and chopping up memorable moments from old school WWE, WCW, stuff like that, and just having fun on the internet with some wrestling. So make sure you guys get on over to all the social media stuff. Get on over to audibletrial.com, and audibletrial.com/KayFabe Smark gets your 30-day free trial, your free audiobook, and check all that out. other than that, man, make sure you guys get onto those podcasts that we talked about last week, the Clark Street Wrestling, them Dirty Heel Boys. AEW News 1 on Instagram is now Elite News 1 on Instagram. He's changed his name, so just kind of going with the overall theme of it's AEW, New Japan, Noah, all that stuff, but he is the Elite News 1. So head on over there, check out Michael at Elite News 1, check out all the other wrestling podcasts, and Eric, why don't you take us out of here?
You can check me out on Instagram, on my own Instagram. It is all one word. Oh, yeah, it's Eric. And besides that, it's a wrap. Hootie hoo. We out the gates.